Hello and welcome to the Simmering Dye Pot. Today I'm dyeing my fancy fall colorway. I'm using dedicated dye equipment. All my pans and everything I use when I'm dyeing is strictly for dyeing. I don't use them for any food preparation. I'm applying the color. Right now the skeins are twisted, and that'll let the color soak in different layers throughout the skein. I'm using Jacquard, Dharma, and Cushing's acid dyes. And I'm just layering the different colors right up against each other so they'll kind of bleed together. Make the color transition a little nicer. These colors are going to be pretty bright. The color I'm adding right now is Old Gold. It looks green. It stays looking green. Just turning the skeins over. Going to apply the color on the other side. The whole dyeing process takes probably 3.5 to 4 hours. The yarn has to be soaked. It needs to be thoroughly wet before you start applying any of the dye to it. Just soak it in regular water. You can add just a drop or two of soap to it. It needs to soak 30 minutes to an hour so it gets thoroughly wet. Then it only takes 45 minutes to an hour to get the colors applied, depending on how you're applying them. Right now I'm opening the skeins up, and you'll see there's still a lot of white left in it. And I open them all up and lay them out and add more color. It's just applying layer upon layer of color to them. Adding more water so that the next batch of dye I put in will be able to move throughout the water. And again, just applying more dye. This pan has 500 gram skeins in it, and that's about as much as you want to get in. It's a 4-inch deep pan, steam table pan. I do have, when I mix my dyes, I do add a little bit of vinegar into the dye as I mix it. Other than that, there's not any vinegar in the pan yet, and there's no heat. Once I get all the color on and I'm satisfied there's not any, white patches left in the yarn, then I put it in the oven at 190 degrees, and I'll leave it set at that temperature for a couple of hours. And then I turn the oven off, let it sit till it cools completely to room temperature. And it usually takes overnight. And after rearranging the yarn once again, I'm adding more color, trying to make sure there's no white patches left in it. When you go to use the yarn to knit with or to weave with, it's going to be more of a variegated yarn. It's not going to have long patches of any one color. Trying to use all the dye I had mixed up. There will be lighter in the center of the skeins. There are some patches that are going to be a lighter shade. It'll give it more variegation in the finished yarn. Still trying to cover up some of the lighter patches. Adding more water. Adding more water and vinegar. it's done. Now I'm starting on the second pan. There's 5 more skeins. I'm not going to show that near as long because I'm dyeing it. Basically, I'm using the same colors, the same method, applying it basically the same way. So I cut a lot of that out. Just applying the dye basically in the same order, in the same way as I did previously in the first pan. And this is after it's been opened up and a lot more color applied to it. It's almost ready. Always add more water so the heat doesn't get too hot on it, and it allows the dye to move around. I'm going to turn it all over, check it again to make sure, and maybe add a little bit more color, just if there's any white or light patches. The colors aren't bleeding into each other too much because there is a little vinegar in the dye itself. When I mixed it up, I added vinegar to it, so it kind of lets it sit faster. And this is all superwash yarn. It'll suck the color in real fast. Adding more water and vinegar. Getting ready to put the lid on it. It'll be ready to go in the oven real soon. These are some skeins. These are the skeins I dyed. They're hanging up to dry. There's a fan blowing on them. The skeins that I've dyed are there, and I also have some that are accent colors I dyed. I kettle dyed those while the others were in the oven. I hope you enjoyed the video.